Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in today as we continue to focus this season on our three areas of build, pray and provide. Today I want to share a couple of thoughts with you on the area of provide. I don't know about you, but anytime I hear the word provide, it just sounds like a really positive word. Provide. Don't you think so? Or is it just another one of my weird thoughts? Like all of our three areas, provide requires action. It is impossible to think about providing without any action. Whether it is someone providing for you or you providing for someone else, it simply cannot be done on its own. Provide needs you. It needs you to intentionally choose to act. We have been given so many opportunities over these past weeks to provide in so many ways, and there is no shadow of doubt that it is definitely more blessed to give than to receive. There is a risk, however, that we can make the action of providing something that can lack the very essence of giving itself. That's love. Providing without love, in the words of the Apostle Paul, it has a sound like a clanging cymbal. If you're like me, I can often find myself turning the action of providing into a few convenient clicks on the phone. We have so many easy ways of giving available to us that I have definitely been guilty of missing out on providing with love. So why is it more blessed to provide than to be provided for? Well, it is purely and simply because we are made to love. Especially as we find ourselves in this Christmas season, we really need to look at just how much love we are providing alongside those physical provisions. So don't get me wrong, anyone who knows me well in green pastures now will know that I am always trying to get as many people to sign up online to give. It is a great way of generating more, as we can then ask our lovely government to top it up through their gift aid scheme. But we can never lose the purpose of providing. It is an action that demonstrates love to our Father God, but also love to our neighbour. Remember the words of Jesus in Matthew 22, where he tells us that these two demonstrations of love encapsulate all other actions of good. Here's what he says: you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it: you shall love your neighbour as yourself. Now, when Jesus said this, I'm going to hazard a guess that he didn't really mean sending a text saying £10 to some random number is how we demonstrate love for our neighbour. I think there's more to it than the convenient way of giving money that we can do nowadays. As I was thinking about preparing this little devotional, God was challenging me so much about how I really love my neighbour. You see, Jesus adds two words at the end. He says, love your neighbour as yourself. So there's loads of teaching in these two words, way too much for a little devotional such as this. But let me just say that one way to love your neighbour as yourself is to simply consider how you would want your neighbour to love you. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? In Luke 6:31 we read, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. For some of us, if our experience of receiving love has not been good, we can find that we aren't able to love ourselves or accept love from others. I know from looking back at my own story that I developed into someone who was independent, not needing a lot of demonstrated love, which is not good, by the way. This can then mean that I love my neighbour in the same way that I need them to love on me, which for an independent person can mean not a lot. To break this cycle, we need to be very intentional to love others, even if we find we have hardened ourselves to receiving love from them. I also believe that as we intentionally love on someone in the act of providing, this in turn will help us to break down barriers that stop us receiving love from others. Also, when we consider the different ways we can provide for our neighbour, remember what we learned from Jesus in Luke 10 when he speaks about the Good Samaritan. Our neighbour is not just a friend or even the person who lives next door. In fact, our neighbour may end up being the person you least want to be your neighbour. We know the truth of this, but just sometimes we need reminded of it. The act of providing through love should never have qualifications applied to it. When Jesus provided salvation through the act of love, he did not make it exclusive to only a few. For God so loved the world that he gave. That is the ultimate act of providing. Have a fantastic day.